Yeah.
Well, that's not happening. He won't even join us.
Yeah, we had the.
And I don't
Hey,
look like
Blake.
him either.
Well,
Yeah.
that's all right. We can just tell everyone you're Mark. You think you can pull it off? Just act like him?
God, Mark, you've really gained some weight. Grew that mustache. He hates my mustache too, by the way. So it's all right. I only grew it. I grew it a year ago. Just I don't know, for some reason. And now that I'm old, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna keep it. And my wife says it makes me look mean, so I'm trying to switch it up for her.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture Mark with a mustache now.
Look, he can't grow one. I've known him for 25 years.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. I think I was like the 8th employee at Elite. I think he was number 2
Really?
or 3. I think he was 3 because we counted Judy. Maybe I was 9 or 10. Yeah, I was right there. So he actually came to my dealership when Elite barely worked, and
Same
he
here.
sold my dealer.
Same here.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like-
it's a big kiosk or something. He set up some big kiosk in a store, and nothing worked. And I was just, well, we're trying to sell cars here. What is this? And eventually, we started using it. But yeah, that was wild.
It was over 20 years ago, and Mercedes had signed up with Ely just the ILM portion, because I think originally that's really all it was an ILM. And yeah, he came in here a few times, because when I started, they didn't even know, like the dealership didn't even know what Elite or that, even though they were signed up for it, no one was using it. And he's the one that got me into it and started using it. And it was pretty interesting. Hey, you mentioned earlier that you like gin. I'm going to send you an email with a link to this lavender gin. I know Alex is probably rolling his eyes because I've brought it up.
I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm waiting for you to send me some.
Yeah.
All about it, yeah.
So, I don't know if you can order it off their website or not, but it's some of the best gin I've ever had. I do awesome. Need. It's about 30 minutes down the road. I need to jump in the vehicle and go down and get us some.
Mm-hmm. Well, 10 seconds, guys. 5. All right. Now it's official. You're not Mark.
I am not Mark. I look like him, though.
Just the mustache, as we were talking about.
Yeah.
So, Blake, you and Mark got started during, was it your dark car days?
Yes. I was running a dealership for an automotive group and in Virginia, and actually, let me go backwards. Actually, I met him when he was coming into a dealer group called Gary Duncan's automotive group, which was a little further than Dark Cars, and then he came over to Dark Cars. So I met him first when he was installing into Duncan Automotive Group. But yeah, and we put some CRM process in place, and then from there, I started actually working for that company with himself and a friend of mine named Bill Whitmire, and stayed there for 18 years until we sold that company to CDK Global. And we were pretty successful, did a really good job, I think, of building a good technology that the automotive business, of course, needed at the time. And now, of course, everybody needs a CRM now. And now, I don't know if I think CRMs are getting to the point where they're almost really simplistic is the best CRMs, where we thought that having the most information and the most buttons was what's going to work back then. But now everything's kind of delineating into the ease of use and one button or no data coming in. We just need to have the information instead of us putting in all the information. So yeah, that's where we met, and been friends ever since, and worked together pretty much this entire time, I took a break for about 6 years, and it was with a different automotive group in a C-level capacity. And then he started this company, Skaivision, a couple of years ago, and I joined up January of this year as the national director. And we're building sales teams and marketing teams and trying to drive this product forward. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
You mentioned CRM being simplistic. Maybe we'll see Higher Gear make another run.
Higher Gear. Look, you know what? Higher Gear might have been 20 years too early.
They could change some of the fonts, and bring it right
Yeah.
back. It's
That's
time
all.
to go server based again, I think.
Yeah.
None of this web based CRM stuff works anymore. Yeah. Break out some old auto based code while we're at it.
Auto-based code.
Where are you located? Where do you live now?
Well, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay, that's right. You mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah. That's just because I chose that because of travel, and with the position I had, I just had to travel so much. I can just 10 minutes from me, I can hop on a plane, and planes leave here every 20 minutes to everywhere in the world. So and they're cheap. So I chose it solely for that reason. Well, and also you can
Makes sense.
be at your pool, around your pool for 9 months a year too. That's not bad.
Sold. I live in Vermont now, so yeah, that's we can ski for 9 months out of the year.
There you go.
And there you go. And I if I like the cold, that'd be perfect. And my wife likes to snowboard, and that's all she ever talks about is moving somewhere where she can get closer to snowboarding. So
Yeah.
I just sit in the lodge and drink gin and tonics.
Yeah, there you go.
That works.
So Skaivision, we a couple months ago, I think it was well before NADA, had Mark on, and he was introducing it to us overall. And I think it'd be good to have a little reintroduction for viewers that are new to it. So what is Skaivision?
Skaivision is really, it's a few things, but the first part of it is that what we decided, and this is also something, and I'll kind of go back to my own experience with how this got developed, is when you're a general manager, you're always trying to figure out what's going on, right? But nobody tells you, and there's 400 reporting suites that tell you this piece of information, that piece, but you never really get the real, true live data. So what we've done is we have developed and built a technology that will take the existing camera system at a car dealership, which is passive, of course, and turning into an active AI solution. And how we do that is we have servers. We will call them servers, but they're really just little AI boxes, and they're about the size of a shoebox. And what we do is we'll bring it in and we will plug it into your existing camera system. And instead of plugging it into your DMS, instead of plugging it into all of your technology, that makes sure that we aren't dealing with any of your security protocols or having to get a lot of people involved in legal and things like that. The only thing that we ever plug into is the actual camera system. Once we do that, our AI solution starts taking over and making those cameras active, starts to see every single thing that's happening at your dealership. Everything from the second that a customer pulls over the threshold of your dealership from the street, all the way into some of the shop and lane efficiencies. We can figure out how to acquire more cars, and I can go into that a little bit deeper. So really what we're doing now is we're doing what grocery stores, high-level businesses have been doing for years, and that is they take their cameras and they watch what people do. And they watch the activities of their customers, and they watch where do you go, which aisle do you go down, and then what cereal do you pick out and why. These are things that make people an extra penny or two at a grocery store. Well, at a car dealership, what's the difference? Customers are customers. Customers want to have their time valued. We need to value the time because time delineates to money for a car dealership. It also, we get to a place where right now retention of a customer is going to be the highest priority coming over, probably in the next 3 to 4 years. That's going to be the key words that you're going to hear from every technology is retention. And we have so many dealerships, and there's so many dealerships in every dealer market area that we have defined it down by the OEMs that this particular store is going to sell 150 cars every month, and they're going to see 2,000 ROs every month. And if they see a plus or minus of one car deal or 10 ROs, that's okay. But that's where it's going to be. And to build and to grow a business, you're just going to have to do a little better than somebody else. The retention piece is time, like I say, and time value is what we really have built here, but we've overlaid the technology to develop that. So we customize AI workflows, and it's called computer vision applications. And so we take all of your cameras, plug them in, and it knows everything. And I can walk you through that entire process from a customer standpoint too. It'd be like,
Yeah.
Sure.
okay. So currently, and this is, I'm going to kind of give you a Skaivision overview of exactly how it works on the customer standpoint and on the dealership standpoint at the same time, because they are in concert with each other. So as a customer pulls on the car dealership lot right now, what do? Well, we just wait for them to pull in, and then we say hi, and then we scan their VIN number and then, or their VIN, and then we go, oh, that's Bob Smith. Hi, Mr. Smith. Then, are you here for an appointment? Well, you should already know these things, right? Then we walk around the car with them, supposedly. Then we tell them to go sit down someplace and drink coffee. Then we take a porter to take that car and park it on the back 40 someplace. Then we hand some keys and a piece of paper with a bunch of writing on it to some technician that walked all the way up there from their rack. Then they walk back to their rack. They study this piece of paper and they start typing in some things in a computer, and then they go and get this car. They pull that car on the rack. They lift the car up. All these kind of states, there is some deficiency in all this process. When a technician leaves a stall, then there's an opportunity there because that stall has now been vacant for how long without a technician. When a car sits and the person doesn't get greeted in a certain amount of time, that is a retention piece. So when I'm going through this from start to finish, we're starting with an efficiency of how do we greet the customer. If they can pull on and we say, hi, Mr. Smith, before we even scan the VIN, because we know when they pulled on, our technology read that license plate of that car, knows who that customer is, knows everything about that vehicle. And then I can say, hi, Mr. Smith, I see you have an appointment here. We've got you all taken care of, easy peasy. And they can go sit down and start drinking the coffee. Now, my efficiency is how long did it take me to greet that customer? So if I greet my customer, and in my opinion, in my dealership, I don't have a time frame. Mine is immediate. So there's no time frame in immediate. But some dealerships say, hey, it could be 5 minutes. If you greet a customer within 5 minutes, I'm okay with that. Well, let's say it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds. At 5 minutes and 1 second, you are going to get an alert pushed to you in a mobile application that says, hey, there is an alert of a customer that hasn't been greeted yet, and he's out of round of what your dealership's parameters are. And that's your retention piece. So that's going to tell you immediately in real time, and it's going to tell the correct people. So now I can walk out if I'm the lane manager and I see a little red dot that comes to me and says, hey, and it has a red circle around that customer and that car because our technology showed this is the one that's waiting. I can walk out, introduce myself, and say, apologize for the wait. I'm going to take care of you right away. That is the start of that retention piece that we're talking about here. Now, that also makes a customer know that they're cared about, and that's what we really want. Now, that starts a cycle time. So the cycle time, when they pulled on, we are now in, let's say we use this customer's example, we're at 5 minutes. After that walk around is done, or maybe it wasn't done, how quick should it be done? If it's done in the amount of time that you allocate, then green means go in our application, and you can see it. And you can see every step in this. If it's red because, hey, that car's still sitting in the lane, then we're going to know that we're out of round of this, because this customer might have came for a express lube. They're expecting, because they passed by 18 Jiffy Lubes on the way there, that they're going to be out of there in an hour. We're already 15 minutes in and we haven't even pulled the car onto a rack. Then that's an alert. And we need to know that, because now we can start to that, right? Or we can actually solve that. Okay. And the solution is knowledge. Where is our bottleneck? Where did this stop? Why isn't somebody communicating with this customer, and why aren't we being as efficient? And that's just the first steps of a customer pulling in with Skaivision. Now, as that lot porter, I said, gets that car and he goes and parks it out of the lane, it could be an inefficiency just where he parks the car. I could, when I was running one dealership, I remember my porters always were told by everybody to park all the cars on the back line. But what happened is a technician took an extra 4 minutes just to get a car. And if you delineate that down to, okay, I've got 15 technicians, and you start saying 4 minutes per vehicle, you can start to figure out what that math means in time. And then when that math equals that time, you can start to not only figure out how to be better at your customer service, but actually how to create capacity and increase the capacity of your shop. And these are things that we didn't get to know before, to the second, to the minute, real time, that we can solve real time. This isn't something that's going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to have a meeting with all of my department heads and go over some review or report. This is instant right this second. And this second, this customer is out of round of your customer service and the way that you want to treat them. So you're going to solve it right this second. You're not going to wait and send them a note from your GM saying, we love you, we mean it. We're solving it now. So we'll go back to where the porter parked the car. That's that inefficiency. Okay. Now, that technician, when he receives that repair order, what is the efficiency or inefficiency? Is it him walking back to get that car? Does he have to go to a keyboard to get keys? Does a lane person come over and hand him the keys in an RO? There's all these different ways it happens in a dealership. Is he dispatched? It depends. There's going to be an inefficiency there that we can solve, because we're going to start to see what's happening. And when we see what's happening, we're going to put a red little square around it, real time. We're going to send a little red dot to you and to push notification right to your device. And you're going to be able to solve it that second, because that alert happened the second that happened to the customer or that vehicle or that technician. So now we've got it. Let's say that the technician now pulls this thing onto his rack. Now I can also know that this LOF should take 33 minutes. So now I know if my technician is idle, because if he's standing there at his box looking at his phone, Facebook, or anything else, he's idle. And it's going to tell me that, hey, this right now, there is a technician that's idle. It would do that with the stall too. So if I have a stall and you say that I don't want any stall empty for more than 10 minutes, and it comes to 11 minutes, it's going to hit a little red alert and tell you, hey, here's a stall, it's empty. And we know what that cost us every 1 minute, or we should. And these are the kind of things that create an operational efficiency that we haven't been able to create in the past, because we're guessing on things, or we're utilizing some kind of OEM parameters that somebody in one place said this is the way it should be. And it's usually based off of their top 10 or 15% stores. And if you're doing that, you're leaving the 85% out that really need the more efficiency. I don't really worry about the top 10% of stores and their efficiencies, because they're operated correctly. So that's where Skaivision comes in, is we're able to identify in every single step, from the second the customer pulls onto the lot, we start that cycle time, which is extremely important for your retention. We know how long that customer has been sitting in the waiting. We know how long that car's been on a rack. We can tell you when you're out around for any single piece of operation that you have. And we can tell you where we can start to build upon that and develop the time that you need, because the only commodity we have that we can never buy is the time, right? and we've always said that. The thing that kills us the most at a car dealership and kills our retention is not caring about the time of a customer and not understanding that when someone's sitting in a waiting area for 2 hours with no communication, you're losing that customer. But if they're waiting for 2 hours and they have communication, they're going to think that you're a pretty good place and they like you because you're communicating. So that's all we really want to do is if we're out around, we at least want to admit it and we want to go and explain to the customer, hey, this is why. Hey, my car wash is backed up and I want to wash your car. So, it's going to be 10 more minutes. So what we'll do with Skaivision is we'll go back to it being on the rack. And let's say that now it's been an hour and 15 minutes on that rack, and that was supposed to be a quick lube. And you say that quick lube should be done at your store in your dream 45 minutes. That's your dream, hopes, and dreams. Well, if you're out around by 20 minutes, you can start to figure out where you can gain that 20 minutes to get you to that 45 minutes. Once you get to that 45 minutes, we know what capacity you grow on that. Now you're hiring another technician that you're going to need to do these oil changes because now you can actually open up your lane more. You can use a little bit more marketing to start to gain the traction of more customers while retaining the ones you have because you're doing the right things. So now we drop that car off the rack. It's still on a cycle time. It's still telling you by the second, here's how many seconds, how many minutes this thing's been here. Are you in place or not? And it actually tells you in each different step if you're out around, because you could be efficient in your tech could have been the efficient one and maybe your lane wasn't. So now we know where that chokehold was and we know what we can actually look at and fix immediately, not in a week from now. We drop the car goes into the car wash, customer gets a little alert, says, hey, we love you, we mean it. Your car's going through the car wash. Matter of fact, because we have all the access to the cameras, we'll take a picture of that car going to the car wash and tell them, hey, look at this. It's on the way. That makes you feel great. That's all a customer wants. It's everything that a customer needs is right there, and they get to have all of the information they need while it's going through your shop, and they know the steps and the status.
I mean,
And
just
that's
being able
really
to
a great,
notify the customer where their car is alone is worth the price of admission.
right? I mean, it's fantastic. So now we take the car and let's say that we're all done. So we've got an RO sitting at the cashier. We got a customer sitting in the lounge, and the writer walks up and says, hey, car's all done, blah, blah, blah. Here's this, initial this, whatever they want to do, whatever their process is. Now the customer is ready to take delivery of their car because it's been finished. Now, what is the time frame that should happen? From the time that thank you to them getting their keys and actually getting in their car. We're actually looking at that too. So if you say it's supposed to be 2 minutes, as soon as, and we're identifying this customer, by the way, we know the customer. So we're going to put a little red thing around this customer and we're going to send you an alert saying it's been 3 minutes and this customer's been waiting. And it'll show a picture of that customer actually standing there, looking up in the sky, waiting. And then you can walk out immediately, or maybe if it was me, I would just go grab the keys, pull it up. I'd say, hi, I'm the general manager, and I apologize. Usually we like to get this done quicker, blah, 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 anything. No, here's my card, same old thing. But the reality is now you're starting to operate in an efficient environment. And what that does is, as we know, there's an attrition rate. When you start to have these type of metrics where you can see what's going on every moment of every day with every operational inefficiency or efficiency, what does your team start to do? Your team becomes that because you're holding them to a standard that nobody can deny. Nobody can take a report. That's right. No one can take, well, and it's not, and here's that's a great point. I've had a few dealers tell me, I don't want Big Brother. I don't want my technicians or my salespeople to see Big Brother. Well, here's the great news. Yeah, we don't do any facial recognition. We blur the faces. You should never worry about who's doing it. You should worry about why is it happening and solve it, because that who will follow that. But it's really usually not the person's fault. It's usually either poor management that allows people to just hang out, right? Stand in front of a dealership, 18 people waiting for one customer. Or it's somebody that actually can tell the people, this is what's going to make you better. And this is, let me show you why. And that's how we're going to teach these people to do it. This isn't even a big training thing. This is just basic customer service 101. It's just because a dealership's so large, it has so many moving parts, and the customers go to 3 or 4 different departments all the time that we've never decided, hey, the most important thing in the world is watching every movement of the customer and their journey. And then where are our deficiencies? Solve that so the customer journey becomes shorter and they can give us the positive reviews that we deserve. And there's where it goes to the next part is in order for us to get better and more customers, it's not about putting out that ad for the $3.99 lease on a car anymore. That's not driving traffic to anybody. What drives traffic nowadays is location and retention. And a retained person, as we all know in this business, is going to be good for another few customers to you. It's also going to be good for a higher revenue, and it's going to be good for your service department who's going to continue to service them. So you're going to make revenue in your sales department. You're going to trade better cars. They're going to refer you, of course, because that's the place they go. So why wouldn't we just focus 100% on this retention? So that in a nutshell is what we do. And with one caveat is as soon as we do all of this, if we are all green and we say that all the parameters you've put in place for your dealership and you've hit all those little check marks, which there might be 30 of them, there could be 10 of them. If we've hit all green, we are then automatically going to send that customer a little link to do a Google review, but only to the customers that we've been operationally efficient to. Anybody out around of that efficiency, we don't even send the review to. So that right there is going to increase your profile, of course, out there on the web, which is what is really important without going out there and spending a bunch of money. This is the organic way to do it, is actually do the right thing and have the customer do it. I don't need
Yeah.
to hire a company to get me better Google reviews. I need customers to actually give me them.
And you got
Okay.
Jeff over here. He's going to say, man, I want my most out of round customer to also get a review because the too many great reviews look fake.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
got to have some bad
you're
ones
right.
there. Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Jeff, for me to swallow. But I get it 100%. You do want there, and there always will be a cross section. Look, there's no matter what you're going to do. Eventually, no matter how much you want to do a great job, you will. It's just we're going to fail at something. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe this after running and operating a couple car dealerships. No matter how good I do, there's going to be someone that doesn't like me, and they will definitely tell me about it in a lot of words. And so I would rather not put a good bad one in because I believe that we'll get one anyway, just because we're in a business and we can't please everybody, even no matter how hard we try. But I do believe that's a really, really good way to go about it is to make sure, and this isn't manipulating anything. This is just saying, hey, we did a good job. And so we'd like you to tell us if we did as good a job as we think. That's about it. Okay. So that really helps. It's just, now, one thing I didn't hit that most of our dealerships are just really, really all about right now. And it was kind of a byproduct of building Skaivision and doing all of this. Now that we have the cameras that are focused on everything, now that we start a cycle time the second they cross our threshold, we've identified the vehicle, we've identified the customer before they even pull in the lane. We have artificial intelligence. What can we do from here? So we decided, well, let's build an acquisitions piece that's just built in. So now the customer, as soon as they pull on, they're going to be greeted. As soon as they sit down, they're actually going to get a text message that's going to say, and our AI is going to greet them correctly and welcome them. And it's going to say, hey, your vehicle has a value of this. And the dealership decides what ranges they want to do, or any kind of dollar amount. And if you're interested, in so many words, it's basically going to say, if you're interested, we'd like to purchase from you. And then if a customer says, I might be interested, yes, any kind of positive, the AI has another step of the conversation. And then if they say yes to that, it's great. Are you still at the store? If they're at the store, they say, fantastic. Can I meet you? Where are you? And then they say yes. That goes straight over to the correct person that you've identified, a sales manager or a salesperson, anybody else. And now you've got a customer that actively you can gain their car and acquire their car. So our stores right now that we've put this in, and they've used other tools out there, and there's, I mean, 100 other acquisition tools out there. The dealerships that have gotten rid of those tools and used Skaivision are all up 10 to 12% in their actions since the day they started. The reason for that is when you hire somebody to go through your database every night, call people, make appointments for your servant. People are coming in already. Hey, you're coming in. Come see me because your car might be worth some money. All that is just trying to cold call people, and people get tired of that. But if they're already at the store and no one's going and bothering them, and they're just sitting there drinking our coffee anyway, why not have a conversation about it? And the AI actually really operates at a high level where it doesn't feel like it's canned. It's different every time. It's not the same message because it's not the same person. And it starts to learn how to talk to people. It starts to learn how you guys talk to people at the dealership. It starts to learn what parameters. And that's the beautiful part about having all the artificial intelligence in this, is because you're building efficiencies that you couldn't build before, because the AI is going to start building and reporting to you as a leader, dealer, general manager, that you can look at to go, wow, I didn't know these. I didn't understand these parameters until this thing told me this is how customers react. And
Hmm.
now this is how the AI is talking to them because this is how customers react. I didn't have to rebuild it. So there's no people involved in this. So now we've turned this over to a salesperson. Great. They do their job, sell it, do whatever they want. There's also pieces in this like gesture recognition, which is part of artificial intelligence. These are things like, let's say that somebody is I don't know, done with an RO and they need somebody to come drive a car off. Or, I mean, it's just anything weird. We need a TO. If TO at that store is a thumbs up, they could be sitting at their desk and go like this, and a manager will immediately, millisecond, be alerted, hey, Bob needs a TO. Done. So that also could happen in the shop. Let's say, when somebody's done with something, maybe they need an inspection from a manager before they drop a car. Maybe they put up a couple hands, whatever it is. That means that they don't have to walk back and forth. They don't have to text somebody. They don't have to wait for somebody. Those are the efficiencies on that as well. So that's what the AI is doing all the time. And going back to the customer experience, that's even in the acquisitions part, that's a customer experience that they're not used to. They're used to getting people banging phones on them, texting them when they haven't opted in, emailing them 18 times a day, asking them, hey, you going to be here today? You coming in? You coming in? And it just gets to that old school car feel where people really, and I'll say something about like Carvana. The reason, in my opinion, and I've been, I worked for a dealer that hated Carvana and said they were going to go out of business years ago. I bought a ton of stock in Carvana after that. The reason is you can't fail when you're utilizing the kind of technology they use. You can't, because you are delineating everything to your consumer. You're not putting it up to you. You're actually, everything is consumer based, and then it gets to you. So when we built the Skaivision, and I said that retention is the biggest word there's going to be in the automotive business, that is it. And the reason you can have more retention is if you care about their time, if you put the correct energy into your technology and you have the right technology, you get to know how to retain your customers instead of guessing on it. So that's kind of a byproduct of having all this technology built into the cameras, is we all of a sudden built this really awesome retention and acquisitions piece, which an acquisition is a retention model, by the way, because you're buying another car from them. And we all know, you guys have been on enough of these meetings with used car people, that you know what that means financially. I don't have to go through every penny of what that means when they buy another car from you. So that's really it. Pretty easy.
Hmm. You mentioned AI with the communications aspect, and we've been toying around with a AI texting piece. I was surprised to see how many people know, or at least suspect, that they're communicating with AI. And it's like
Mm,
almost the moment they figure it out, the messages start to get a little crazy.
yes, that's right.
Like, but I was surprised how many people, caught on to it that quick. And of course, that could just be the particular service. I mean, when I'm reading it, it's almost too proper, if you can say that. Um, Too analytical.
Yeah.
Just sort of misses out a little bit on that human experience or verbiage. But yeah, I was
Mm.
surprised to find out how many people were catching on to that as quick as they did. But you said that you've got to set up where the ability of your AI is to actually continue to learn and maybe adapt according to the customer itself.
And that is what real AI is, and not an AI like chat bot. I think
Mm,
what we're used to in the car business is this AI chat bot that has kind of this limited capability. And really, they use the term. Too many people are using AI right now, which
hmm
they're using it incorrectly. Right? Artificial intelligence is a learning. It learns. And that's really what
Yeah.
it does. It doesn't just give you a canned answer every time, and it's not an automation. And I think a lot of dealerships and a lot of people in the world, they believe that AI is an automation, but it really isn't. It's an actual learning tool that actually takes the information coming in, the information coming in visually or any other way, and it starts to, if you've built a correct process behind that of what you want that to see, then you're going to be able to see these efficiencies. If you haven't built those into that, then you're not going to see it. It's just a basic thing that's sitting up front of and telling people the same thing every time. And that's really not artificial intelligence. That's, like I said, that's just an automated process that they've put some technology behind it. They call it something. And I think that stuff's going to go away. And I think you're going to see a lot of companies, look, we're the first company doing this. You'll be talking to 10 more of me in the next 3 years with doing the same thing. Because this is the only way that we're going to get more automation. We're going to get more retention. This is the only way that we're going to get more efficient. And I will say this, as an operator of a dealership, I tell people all this all the time, and it blows their mind. I said, on a daily basis, I didn't look at any dollar amounts. And they used to go, what? I said, yeah, no. You think I cared what somebody bought a car? No, here's what I cared about: pluses, minuses, green, red, yellows, and percentages. I looked at everything as a percentage, up or down. And if something was down, it could be okay. It depends on what you're looking at. But the reality is everything that we do has to be operationally more efficient. That's it. And
hmm
when at the end of the month, and I do monthly operating reviews with each store, yeah, I mean, of course, dollars really matter. But I know, I can tell you to $100 what a dealership is going to make before that, just off of percentages and what I'm used to looking at every single day. And that's what we do here is now we're trying to tell you, hey, here's a plus, here's a minus, here's a red, here's a green, right? Here's a yellow. Here's just one little thing you can do better, but you don't have to get into how the whole world works. You don't have to get into rebuilding anything. All you have to do is this one thing today. And once you do that one thing today, you'll do it forever. And going back to the AI, that's what it's learning, is what we're doing every day. And we're putting these triggers in behind the scenes so that the AI says, okay, this trigger here, I've hit this trigger. So now what am I doing with this? And just like talking to a customer, it's learning and it's not saying the same thing to every single customer. The only thing that's going to be identical to every customer is the parameter you've put into what you might offer somebody on a car, because we don't want to adjust that and we don't want anybody thinking or AI figuring that out, which it could, by the way, and it'd probably do a better job of pricing cars than the average person at the dealership. But we aren't there yet. But used car managers will be. I promise you this: you got 3 to 4 years, and you're going to have companies out there that are syndicating inventory, and we know all those companies. You're gonna barely need a used car manager sometimes in some of these stores, because cars going to come in, they're going to punch it in, they're going to say this is. I mean, we already know what the market is. All we're doing right now is we're having a human being take information from one screen and typing it into another screen. You know, so just imagine the capabilities when you start to operationally have products like Skaivision in place. When people get used to utilizing these types of products, when they get used to the type of dashboard they're looking at every day. Remember, this has no data input either. So there's nobody in the store that you have to hire. There's nobody in the store that's ever putting data into this. That's technology working for you. When you have people still putting data in at a car dealership that's already in another tool, you're inefficient. That's an inefficiency right there that we can cut out. So here at Skaivision, that was the goal, because everybody that worked at Skaivision has operated car dealerships at a high level, or has been someone like Mark Queen, who has built a company like eLead from the start, and a company like this, or Jason, our CTO, who's probably, in my opinion, the most intelligent CTO I've ever met, who's been with CIA and FBI and all these other great, I mean, his resume is out of control. But these are the people you bring in to actually get this operational efficiency that we've all said, why don't people do this? We have the technology. I can order something from Amazon. I can do this. How come I can't be the same customer at a car dealership that I can be with all these other people? Why can't I just hit a button and that work? And so that's what we've decided to solve. And as we grow as a company, we're going to continue to solve more of that. We're going to keep simplifying, and we're going to keep creating efficiencies to make sure that dealerships excel. And it's not necessarily getting rid of people; it's putting people in the better positions.
That's what they
Well,
all
Blake,
say.
you got a you got a question from the audience. Wondering if there are any OEM partnerships in the works. Anything that you can
There
talk
is.
about right now?
Um, yes, I can. I hesitate to be a salesman or to say how cool everything is, but I will tell you this: um, a couple of the largest OEMs in the world are extremely all about this and are piloting this at stores currently. The largest automotive groups in the world are piloting this at their stores currently. One is done piloting it and is going to put it in their stores. We have amazing, huge partners in the DMS game. We have fantastic partnerships in the finance side with huge, huge companies. And they are coming to us because they want to automate. They want to use artificial intelligence, and they want to get their dealer body healthier than it is currently. And we're helping to do that. So, I don't want to be one of those guys that comes on here and tells you all the cool stuff about us and everything. And I'm happy to answer any questions personally. Anybody ever wants to call me or talk to you, I'll give you all the info. But here, just for the sake of not being the coolest guy in the room and having cool stuff happening, I will tell you massive, massive partnerships with people everybody knows. And I think you're going to see not just us, like I said, there's going to be some other people coming with this type of technology in the next few years, because this is the way that we're going to grow our business. And I always go back. I started my career with Lexus. Okay. This is, gosh, I hate to say this, 30 years ago. Um, and one thing and it was the first place I became a sales manager, by the way. And what I had to go through to become a sales manager at Lexus back then is you had to learn about the company of Lexus and how they started. And it never was lost on me my whole career. The first thing that they talked about was the retention of customers as a brand. And I'm going to say this is crazy, but I haven't worked for a Lexus store in 20 years. We've always had a Lexus in our garage. There's one in there right now. And the reason is they retained me. Why they retained me? Because they do everything right every single time, according to me. And when I go to their stores, it's right. Do I feel like they're the most efficient? No, they do take 2 hours to change oil on basically what's a Camry. But the reality is, at least their service people come and say something to you. I'm in a nice environment all the time. You got to admit, pretty nice environment at Lexus store always. They always have good stuff to eat, coffee, and everything else. So my retention is based off of how I've been treated all this time. And I do have another vehicle that I wouldn't even care to go to a dealership for that one. And when I want to sell it, I'll just go online and get an offer from somebody and I'll sell it to them and then I'll just go buy something else. But that dealership has sold to me, they'll never see me again. They've never even sent me a thank you note. So I always get to my point is retention is the key to everything we do. We lose sight of that in years like 2001 and 2 when we're making all the money in the world and then we don't care about customers all of a sudden. But right now, for the next few years, it is going to be paramount. And that retention is based on the operational efficiency from the second a customer pulls onto your lot to the second their taillights leave. That is your retention piece. And if you have
you want a stat
anything,
for that, Blake?
staff,
A stat for that?
I would love it.
So we've been monitoring this for the past 5 years, and we've been looking at retention in the sales department based on has the customer that's buying a car paid that dollar or paid that dealer a dollar before. So whether that dollar was coming from service or was coming from buying a car again, is really the easiest way to look at it. So going back to 2020, it's been, somewhere between 30 and 35%, except in 2024 and currently it's 23%. It fell off the cliff. Yeah.
And does that kind of make sense that 3 years ago we didn't care about anybody but the dollar?
Yeah. Well, also the cost of service went way up
Yep.
too. So
Yeah. Well, and the retention on the service side, the majority of it should come from warranty stuff anyway. Because if we're retaining a customer, we all know what that
that's
life
only up
cycle,
to 16% of repair orders.
right?
Yep.
It's insane. Yeah.
Yep.
So look at what we're missing as a dealer body in this United States is it's on us. 100% it's on us. And customers have their choices. And what we've done is, look, I got brought up in the car business right when there was internet even started, right? I think we had a big like disc or a satellite dish on top of our dealership. And then every, I think, week, my GSM went in and he typed some stuff in, and that's how he ordered cars. Like it, I don't know, went over to General Motors or some kind of thing on a big satellite dish. I don't know if everybody remembers that, but that's
I
how
remember
we did our right. That's how we did our business then. But we cared more about customers then, and we retained customers better then because it was a personalized business. We weren't just always out there, and customers didn't
Well, we
have
weren't
the
making five
DMAs.
grand over a sticker then.
Yeah.
Well, and the DMAs were big, right? If you
Yeah.
had a Toyota store, there wasn't another one for another 25, 30 miles and things. Now there's one 3 miles away. So it is really paramount that we get back into that business model as a whole. And not saying that there's not dealers out there. There's some fantastic dealers, and that's all they worry about and care about. And I can mention a couple by name that are big dealers. But the majority of us, we're still waiting and we're hoping. And the waiting and hoping is never going to actually work. And I used to tell myself, don't operate off the hope system. Let's go. It's time for us to make it happen. So I think with Skaivision and what we're doing currently, I think that it's a benefit to everybody. not just the dealerships, it's a benefit to the customers as well. It's an inexpensive way to know everything going on and become more operationally efficient. And I didn't even mention that this goes into the sales department too. As you dial in your service and you dial in all of those efficiencies, then we just kind of move it over because look, these cameras are in sales too. Do I know how long a salesperson has been standing out on the point? Maybe. I drove by a Toyota store yesterday. They had at least 15 guys in white shirts standing out front. And my wife said, I would never stop in there. That scares me. And I said, yeah, me
Yep.
either.
Yep. Us.
Me either. So, what would happen if I knew that these three salespeople have been out here an hour and a half, but I have a database of 120,000 people, and of those people, probably 30, 40,000 are orphans, but I've got a CRM, right? I've got a data mining tool. I've got all these things that I purchase. I have all this software and all this technology that I don't use at all, but I'm going to have people standing out there hoping someone shows up that's a 70% closing ratio. Insane, right? Absolutely insane. And you guys know the numbers of look, someone that comes back and repeat and a referral customer, we know what they close at, right? I don't know the exact number now, but it's in the 50%.
Yeah, it's closer to
It used to
60.
be
Yeah.
right, right. Somebody that you actually buys from you comes back to you. That's like 70%. So here we are still in 2025 where the majority of dealerships are operating off this hope system and they aren't dialing in their efficiencies. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really encompasses all of Skaivision is you pull on the lot, your cycle time starts. We know every second that car has been on the lot. We know every chokehold. We know every place that it was inefficient based off of what you feel efficiency should be. We acquire 10 to 12% better than any other company because of the technology and the artificial intelligence of the way that it talks and responds to the customers correctly. It turns it over correctly. You don't have to hire anybody else. There's zero data entry from anybody at the dealership, which is to me huge because that's one of the problems and choke points at a dealership is data entry. We are only pushing you when there's an issue. We aren't pushing you when there's no issue. You don't need to know when there's no issue. You only need to know what issue is happening right this second to resolve it. We aren't telling you an issue a week later either. We're doing it now. Then we're making sure that all of your techs, all of your lane, all of your shop experiences are as efficient as possible. We're telling you, hey, look, you might just have to have somebody that brings the oil to your guys to them go and get in a box of it. Maybe maybe you need to invest in something, right? It's going to tell you those things down the road. And then we're going to get you a little higher customer service rating that you earned, that you deserve. It's not some pie in the sky or trying to get somebody to do something. This is actually, they're going to give you better ratings on Google, and that's going to help you in your retention on there too, and gaining traction on new customers when you want it. So we simplify everything. Just like I said, creating the efficiencies. And I think this is something that every dealership in the country is going to eventually have to gravitate to in the next few years. And again, we are already in some very large stores, some of the top Toyota stores in the country, just to name a brand. But also, there's a couple huge Honda stores, big Ford stores, you name it. They're already using us. And because we don't go out advertising and we don't have a big crew of people running around the stores and begging people to buy, you just don't hear much about us unless you're referred. And we like that because if we're going to be about operational efficiency, if we're going to be about retention, then that's the way we also run our company, is out of operational efficiency and retention. And that retention is what's getting us the referrals to go into other stores. So we're kind of doing it the same way that we are teaching it.
Quick question on the hardware. You mentioned that most dealerships could use their existing hardware infrastructure cameras, but let's be real. I would think for this to work as efficiently as you've been talking about, the more the merrier.
As far as cameras go? You mean
Yeah.
like hardware? Yeah, of course. Yeah, and most dealerships have an average of about 30 cameras laying around all over the place, and half of those are pointed in the wrong direction, or they just don't work, or they only know they work if someone steals something after they do their audit or something every month. Um, we can really take almost any camera that's out there, and because of the technology we have, they work. We can plug them into our box and they'll work. Now, we will come to every store and we do a site walk with you and we will go, hey, look, this particular camera isn't pointing at the entry. Can we adjust the where it points to? Do you have one that comes off of the drive? And if it is, then we'll just put one there. They're
I
very
would think a
inexpensive.
decent.
We're not talking.
I would think.
Go ahead.
I think you'd have to have decent resolution for them as well, so no old cameras.
Yeah, you do, but 1080p, our technology will even get a 1080p camera will work fine. That's the beauty of what we built is we're not trying to go into a dealership and say, hey man, you got to redo everything. We want to go in and what you have established, we just want to kind of roll on top of and facilitate. And then, yeah, you might have to buy a camera or two. You might just have to get a ladder and move one. But the reality is, most of the time, they've got a sufficient number of cameras. They're just not pointed to where they actually are as efficient as they can be. And like there might have been, I think there was a store maybe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think they had 8 cameras is all, and it was a pretty large store. So they ordered another 30 cameras, but they needed to anyway. They said, we're going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
What do we order? And we just told them the ones. They were pretty expensive, knocked it out. I think they'll be all installed in the next couple of weeks, and they're ready to go. It's already plugged in. So basic, very easy.
Okay.
And we have the camera vendors as well. And
I figured as much.
they take good care of us as well.
It's a unique concept. I definitely see how it could be beneficial, especially for a dealership that's got some major traffic rolling through it. I was thinking about that earlier. It's how would we apply something like this at our dealership? We're a smaller Highline dealership. We're not overly busy, especially with foot traffic. But then again, service is always busy, so you got that play as well. So I was
The
just thinking, like,
acquisitions,
I wonder if is there like a base threshold of foot traffic where it makes more sense?
I don't believe so. I think that if you sell 100 cars, 50 cars, or 1,000 cars, or if you're running at 5,000 ROs or 500 a month, the opportunity to be more efficient, to gain time, and to have more value to your customer is always there. And if you're a smaller Highline store, you have a forecast and you have some type of a growth for the future that you already have. So, if does this assist you in that growth? Is that growth if you and I don't know what you do, but let's say that you did 50 vehicles this month, would you like to do 55 next month? Of course you would, right? Would we like to acquire 2 more of those Highline cars, then go to the auction and pay up for those cars? Of course we would. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's the little things. This isn't to solve the world's problems. This is to solve one inefficiency at a time to make sure we're doing the absolute best we possibly can for our customers and our employees and our actual business. And so for a store like that, I would say, yeah, it's valuable, just like it's valuable to a Longo Toyota, a huge store, is because they might decide that okay, 50 more acquisitions this month makes them successful, where you have 5 more. That's all it takes. And those 5 more become 5 more customers to purchase the cars from you, or 4, and that becomes those 5 more cars that people come and buy from you that might not have, and that's your growth. And you guys have been doing this for long enough where that's the only way to do it, right? You just need 1 more customer, 1 more car, and 1 more person that understands how to put them both together.
Perfect.
Well, is it Skaivision? Is it .ai or .com?
Skaivision.com, and we got everything right there. Yep. And we do online demos all the time, every day. They're very short, very to the point. Probably take 15 minutes for people. And we also more than anything, we like to go to the stores. Mark is at a store right now. We're at a dealer group right now. We have a couple other people that actually go out to the stores, and they're in stores right now with dealers doing site walks and trying to get everything lined up. So customer service is paramount for us. If anybody wants to see how good a customer service there can be in the auto business, just make a call to Skaivision. Whether you buy or not, we'll show you, what we do from start to finish to value your time.
Excellent.
Well, Blake, you didn't think you'd be able to make it the full hour, but here we are.
Here we are. I appreciate you
Nice
guys
work.
very much.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
you for your
Definitely.
time.
Going back to what you said earlier, I'm sure within the next 5 years, every dealership will have some type of product like this in their dealership. Makes sense.
It's happening. So jump on it now.
Well, thank you,
So
Blake.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Have a good weekend. Take care.